Hi, Discovery in Atlantis. I thought it'd be really sad if we couldn't see you, Marvin and I, for the whole time that school is closed, or you're not able to go to school like normal. So Mrs. Price has agreed that we can still do worship and we can still talk with you. Now today, I'm recording this on Wednesday, which is the day the church celebrates something called Epiphany, which is a very funny word, Epiphany. And that's the day we remember when the wise men came to visit Jesus. Now, Marvin isn't a particularly wise monkey, we know that, but sometimes he does good things, sometimes not so good. Today, a not so good thing. So he wanted to go out to play with his friends, but Dad said, no, you can't go out and play with your friends. I need you to come and help me to move some sticks that have gotten all over the path and it's quite dangerous. Marvin wasn't very happy. He said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to come and move sticks all day. I want to go and play with my friends. So that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to go and help. But Dad said, no, I need you to come and help. So Marvin went, but he was a bit bored. He just picked up tiny sticks and threw them to the side. Tiny sticks, threw them to the side. He didn't really help Dad at all. He didn't help him with the big logs. He didn't help him with the heavy stuff. Just the tiny sticks and threw them to the side. And Dad said, you know, you're really not being all that helpful. If you can't be helpful, you might as well go and play with your friends. All right then. And off he went. Now, that wasn't really what Dad meant, was it? What Dad meant was, help me properly because you're not doing it at the moment. But Marvin wasn't happy. He went to his friends. And he met up with his friends, and Horatio, his best friend, said, where have you been all morning? And Marvin said, well, my dad made me help him move some sticks, but I didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it properly, so he told me to come back and play with you. Horatio looked at him and he thought, and he said, I'm not sure that's what your dad meant. I think your dad meant help properly. And Marvin said, well, that's not what he said. He said I could come and play, so I have. And Horatio said, no, I think we should all go and help. So Marvin and Horatio and all his friends went off to help Dad. Now Marvin still wasn't happy because he still didn't want to spend all day moving sticks and logs and stuff. But they went back and they said to Marvin's dad, all right, we've come to help. And between them, they did move them. And actually it was quite fun when they did it together. And they picked up the big ones between them and they moved them out of the way. So in the end, Marvin's dad was just sitting watching and laughing at how silly they were. And after a few minutes of doing this, Marvin went and he said, oh, Dad, I'm really sorry I couldn't be bothered earlier. I know I should have helped you properly, but I just couldn't be bothered. And Dad said, I know, but I'm glad to see you're doing it now. And after a while, they had it all cleared and they had plenty of time to go and play. And Marvin thought, actually, it was much better doing the job properly than half doing it and half not bothering. He said, I'm pleased I came back and helped out and did it properly, did it to the best of my ability. Now, as I said, today we're celebrating Epiphany, the day when the wise men, or we remember the wise men coming to visit Jesus. Now, I'm sure you heard this story before Christmas, before you broke up for the Christmas holidays, but let's think about it again. So the wise men saw a big star in the east and they knew that that meant a new king had been born. So they got on their camels and off they went. And they set off on a long, long journey across the deserts for days and days and days. It was a tough, tough journey. And they got to the place where King Herod lived and he was in charge at the time. And they went to King Herod and they said, we hear there's been a new king born. And Herod was like, king? I'm the king, what are you talking about? And he wasn't happy at all. And he hatched a little plan in his head. And he said to the wise men, okay, you go and find the baby king and then come back and tell me where he is and then I can go and worship him. But that wasn't really what he meant. What he meant was, you go and find the baby king and then I can kill him. So the wise men set off and they found Jesus with Mary and Joseph and all they could do was bow down and worship him. And they gave him their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And then they had a dream where God said to them, don't go back to King Herod. Go back a different way. So that's what they did. And then Jesus was safe and Herod couldn't find him to kill him. But let's just think about those wise men. So they went on this really long, difficult journey. They couldn't get in a car or on a train or on a boat or in an aeroplane. They had to go by camel and by foot. It was a long, long way. Imagine if they'd said, oh, I don't really fancy that. We'll go as long as it's a nice day and we'll get a good big dinner at the end of it. Didn't really fancy the toughness of the journey. Well, that wouldn't have worked, would it? When they got there, it was still difficult because they saw Herod and Jesus wasn't there and Herod wanted to kill Jesus. But again, they didn't give up. Sometimes when things don't go right straight away, it's easy, isn't it, to give up and say, well, I can't do that, so I'm going to do something different. But the wise men didn't. They carried on their journey. They got back on their camels and they went off to Bethlehem. They gave their gifts to Jesus, not just ordinary gifts, not just like a baby grow and some nappies, but actually gifts that meant he was a king, because they knew that he was the king of the Jews. Now, I know that life looks a bit funny at the moment. It's funny for you because you can't go to school. It's funny for me because I'm doing worship like this instead of not even by Zoom, just me talking to my phone and hoping that you watch this. And it can be easy, can't it, when things are difficult like they are at the moment and a bit funny to go, oh, I can't be bothered. But actually, like Marvin and like the wise men, we should really give everything our all. We should try our best in everything. So this term, especially if you're at home at the moment, if you're learning at home, are you learning with an attitude of, oh, I can't be bothered and this is too hard and I want to go back to school? Or are you learning with an attitude of, I will do my best every day? And it won't be the same as at school, and that's okay. But I will do my best every day. And if you're at school and you're looking around and you're going, well, this is a bit funny because we're all in together and it's not the right people in class and it's all a bit funny and my friends are at home. Are you going into school with that attitude of, I can't be bothered and I want it to be back to normal? Or I want to be at home like my friends are? Or are you going, I will do my best to keep up and to do my absolute everything I can all the time? It's a funny old term, this term, because you can't go to school properly. But let's follow the example of the wise men. And even when it's funny like it is now, let's do our best and bring the best we have to our schoolwork, to being at home, to whatever we can do. Let's do it to the best of our ability. Let's pray together to finish. Dear God, thank you for the example of the wise men and how they offered the very best of what they had to Jesus. As we begin this new term in a funny way, please help us to offer our best in all that we do and to have their attitude of giving our all. Amen.